Good morning. It is Tuesday. My voice is doing a bit better. As I say that, of course, I start coughing again. Yeah, last night was game night. So it's time to recap what happened. As I said previously, I did not have anything specifically lined out for last night's session. I was feeling awful all weekend, and most of last week, actually. So I didn't do any specific prep. I did have my general outline of the game, however, though. And I did know that once they were at sea, I wanted to have an ocean encounter. So I had half a dozen different monsters available that I thought I would randomly roll and see what came up. Now, at the end of the day, I decided not to roll because that's just how I am. They kept joking about encountering a kraken once they were at sea, so I decided, you know what? Let's throw a kraken at them. Yes, they're level 3. No, I didn't throw an actual full-size Challenge 23 kraken at them. I'm not that bad. I thought about it, but I'm not that bad. Always. Yeah, so I threw instead some baby krakens at them. And it got interesting. For one thing, I don't think they realized that even a baby kraken is going to hit very hard and do a lot of damage when it hits. They're still powerful creatures. They also, I don't think, were quite prepared for the number of hit points that it had. But again, it's a kraken. You know, I mean, it's not going to be a pushover. Now, one thing to say about it was extremely easy to hit. There were very few misses against this thing. I think it had like either a 12 or a 13 AC. So, I mean, they were hitting it fairly regularly. Except for the Paladin. Now, why that was, I don't know. But his first round of combat, and this is where things started to get interesting, he swings the frost axe, catches nothing but air, and then follows up with his offhand weapon of his steel battle axe, which, it's worth mentioning, has been his weapon for years. Now, this is the lone wolf. This is the guy who's lost his tribe, who's lost his wolf brothers, who has lost everything. And he's got this metal axe. It's been relegated to his offhand because he's been given the frost blade now, but it's still his cherished axe. So, of course, standing on a boat over the ocean, swinging downwards at a kraken that's clinging onto the boat beneath him, he rolls a 1. Of course he does. So his nice metal axe splashes into the ocean. I thought it was going to be a really unfortunate thing. You know, he'd lost his axe. You know, because it was so special to him, it might be a bit of a character building moment to lose it. I didn't expect him to dive into the water with the krakens. And yet he did. Other key point, because he didn't want to be weighed down in the water while he was swimming for his metal axe, he dropped the frost axe on the deck. Now, I'm going to be honest here. I had a moment. The players had a moment but I had a very different moment. Because when he dropped the axe and dove in the water, my first thought was to have the Kraken pick up the frost axe. I decided it would have been a bit mean to have the frost axe stolen by a Kraken, but I thought about it. I really thought about it, and I very nearly did it. Yeah. So he dives in the water. Now the boat is moving at this time still, so of course he immediately starts to fall behind the boat. The boat is still fighting off the Kraken, but then there starts this scramble of people trying to figure out how they're going to get him back out of the water. Well, most of them are trying to figure out how to get him back out of the water. While he is swimming under the water for his axe, already heavily damaged by his fight with the Kraken, which has smacked him upside the head and beat him up horribly. So he is injured, swimming downwards towards his metal axe. And in the moment that he grabs his metal axe, and I'm stressing metal here for two reasons. One, because metal is rare on Fenris. And two, because of what happens next. You see, as he is in the water, grasping a metal axe, the shaman decides to lightning bolt the water. I couldn't make this up. Now, the lightning bolt does fry the Kraken. Yes, it does. He didn't know it at the time, but the lightning bolt actually damaged the 3 other Krakens that were also under the boat at this time. But it also dropped the paladin into unconsciousness. So the paladin is now unconscious, underwater, in the ocean, with Krakens. Yeah, things were going good. Things were going great. At which point everyone is still scrambling to try to get to him, but they don't know how. At which point our gnomish inventor, NPC, Toucan, had a bright idea for a jury-rigged harpoon gun. So he snaps a few things together. He does have quite a unique multi-purpose weapon that he uses, that he can basically compartmentalize in different ways. So yeah, he snaps some parts together, plugs a harpoon onto it, aims, and fires. Now, it is worth noting that when you are underwater and unconscious and you are shot with a harpoon, you do fail a death saving throw. Oops. But they then had a rope on him, which was held by a halfling. Sorry, a gnome. And he was struggling to not get pulled into the water because he was much smaller than the person that he was pulling. So then you have a gnome holding a rope that is embedded into the unconscious paladin, who is trying not to get pulled into the ocean himself. So then we have one of the members of the Fenrisian tribe who rushes over to attempt to aid the gnome. and proceeds to roll another 1. So, instead of running up behind the halfling, grabbing the rope, and pulling the paladin on board, what he instead does is runs up behind the halfling, knees him in the back, and kicks him overboard. I couldn't make it up. So now we have the paladin unconscious in the water, the halfling conscious in the water, screaming. Sorry, I keep saying halfling. He's a gnome. He's a little guy, but he's a gnome, not a halfling. I don't know why I keep saying that. Yeah. So, someone manages to throw a rope around the gnome, Toucan, and they start to pull him on board. It takes him a couple rounds, or no, it takes him a round, I think, to realize that the halfling, when he fell in the... See, I keep doing it. The gnome, when he fell in the water, dropped the rope he was holding. So, the paladin has a harpoon in him with a rope, but now no one's holding the rope. So, Bob, the GIF mercenary, GIF bard rather, seeing what's going on, anchors his grappling hook into the boat, holds the other end of the rope, and dives in after the paladin. He also casts Healing Word so that the paladin comes back to consciousness. The paladin comes back to consciousness, at which point he realizes there's a kraken holding me by the leg, and I have a harpoon in my side, and I'm underwater and drowning. And there's a giant hippo there. Eventually, Bob manages to drag, the paladin basically manages to grapple onto Bob. Bob uses the rope to get back to the edge of the ship. As they get to the edge of the ship, the paladin decides, instead of crawling up onto the ship, he's going to leap off of Bob and try to swim for a different part of the ship. Because that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, sure, it does. Definitely. They end up throwing some of their food into the water, which distracts a couple of the krakens. However, there's one more kraken that clings on. They eventually all get back into the boat, fight this other kraken to the death, and they manage to get away, having defeated 2 of these small, or medium-sized rather, baby krakens. You would think that would be enough conflict for the night. You would think. Except then came the issue of one of our Fenrisian hunter taking umbrage with the fact that the Fenrisian paladin just threw the frost axe on the deck. The hunter picks up the axe. They have a bit of a confrontation. Aldrin gets involved because he was given the axe by the paladin before he gave it back to the paladin. it becomes this whole confusing thing, and by the end of the argument, they haven't really resolved anything, but Aldrin is holding the axe again. And that's where we left it. They've been on the ocean a grand total of 2 hours, and they've gone swimming with krakens and nearly had a fight with each other. Yeah. Oh, it is worth mentioning as well that the boat that they're on is a sail-powered boat. And at the start of the combat, before he cast lightning on the ocean, the shaman first had tried to create a storm around himself on a sailboat. Yes. Definitely the brains of the bunch. Anyway, that's going to be it for today. Like, subscribe. I'll be back tomorrow with something. I don't know what it'll be yet. Hopefully with a better voice. That would be a good thing to be back with. Anyway, have a great day.